Hey, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys have had a great week. Sorry about the upload last week. I got a little bit busy. A lot of stuff happening. But yeah, speaking of great weeks, actually, it's been a fantastic one for Legends of Runeterra. We got a lot of cards for the new expansion, and they've been revealed, and we're gonna go over them today. We got a bunch of support for old archetypes such as Deep, Blade Dance, Thralls, Lurk, and a reveal of new champions and new archetypes that are in store for us in this coming expansion. On top of that, we also have possible spoilers for future champions. I'll let you know about that later. And even more keywords. Oh boy, everybody's favorite. But more on that later. Let's head into this reveal with a quick rundown of all the cards that we got. Oh, and a word of caution, my friends. All these takes are from my personal perspective of card game design. For more professional or meta-oriented talk on each one of these cards, you're better off looking elsewhere. This is just like a TLDR, keeping it brief kind of thing. At least, I'll try. Alright, so let's get started with each one of these cards. First up, we have Storm of Blades, a pretty solid support card for Blade Dance. I think it's a welcome card. After the archetype was nerfed, not into the ground, not entirely, it hasn't really seen much popularity. It's a stable, sort of below average deck now. But summoning additional blades for every blade dance might make the deck a little bit more deadly. Blood in the Water, we got some support for Lurk decks. Wow, imagine that. The deck is pretty solid as it is already, but it was missing a little bit of consistency. And personally, I think that the archetype is a little bit bland. But rallying the archetype, if you really think about it, it's a little bit risky to say the least. But it's fairly priced for the effect, and it can be countered. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Attacking constantly with a lurk deck is important, so this might just be what the archetype needed. Next up, we got Chamber of Renewal, a Zerath and Zig support card. Seriously? I mean, it's not a bad landmark, and it has a solid effect, but I'm thinking maybe you could put it into other landmark decks, particularly Talia and Malphite. We'll have to wait and see. Alright, up next we have Consult the Heavens, a Tahm Kench and Soraka support card, I think. I mean, that's what I think about it, especially for Targon and maybe a region like Freljord. So, in terms of Tahm Kench support, the card's main effect is that it has a lot of health, but it makes up for it in having low power. So this might actually help boost that archetype and allow Tahm Kench to trade more favorably into, his opponents. So, I look forward to seeing that. But it's not just a spell limited to Tahm Kench. It could also be put into a Freljord deck, for example, maybe with Braum and Scargrounds, and having some synergy there too. The next card we have is Harbinger of Thralls. It's just a really solid card altogether. It's 2 mana, 2/2, good cost, good effect on play. It's not a skill, it's a play effect. It's got tempo for a Thrall deck, which is really good, especially since they take a moment to get the ball rolling. So it's a nice addition to the archetype. Harrowing Return. Honestly, this ephemeral synergy card or a combo card, I can't really tell. I haven't seen much resurgence in the ephemeral archetype, although it's still around. It might just not be as good, or whatever you want to say on that. But I think it could work as a solid finisher with revive mechanics. It could be a cool card to combo with Commander Leodris or maybe even Hecarim. Or maybe even the Rekindler in some goofy one-off revive deck. Next we have Hunting Boar, a pretty decent Freljord card with ramp. Like, it's a lot better. It's a lot better than the other card we got with ramp. It's an aggressive card that cannot block, so it forces your opponent to make a choice between taking 2 damage or giving you the advantage of mana by blocking into it. And as a reminder, Sejuani is in this region and Plunder is in this region, so this card synergizes with those archetypes as well. Inspiring Light. So somehow Lux always seems to get the spotlight in League and now in lore. But yeah, if you can keep up a solid board presence, then this is a good addition to the archetype, or maybe even to Demacia plus Yordle Swarms. So we'll have to wait and see. So Kenku's Call is a card that summons another mediocre card. We got 2 of these in this reveal. This is the first of the 2. So what it does is that it draws you a card and it summons a Keeper of Masks. It basically, when that unit is summoned, it grants all other units +1 attack. So as a spell, you now have the option of summoning it at the start of the next round. So that allows you to set up your board this round, and then maybe the next round you can get that attack buff. But yeah, I mean, it's better than running the actual card in your deck. Legion Deserter. This card is going to be the single greatest meme wild card to include in every Allied Everywhere deck. I can't wait. Next up, we have Megatusk. It's a pretty cute support card for a deep deck, right? Sure, I'll take it. Protective Broodfather is up next. It is a dragon deck synergy card, and it's really busted right now. It's overpowered as fuck. I'm just kidding. It's a solid tempo card for the late game. It incentivizes deck building in terms of having higher cost dragons in your deck for maximum value. And it's on attack, by the way. So this is not a play effect, this is every time you attack. Just FYI. Next up we have Revna the Lore Keeper. I really like the art for this card. Just want to put that out there. I have no idea how to wrap my head around the effect though. And buffing is minimally supported in Freljord. It's got a couple of synergy cards, but none of those are particularly fantastic. In Targon, we do have Destiny's Call. In Ionia, we have like Sow Seeds. It's a nice card to build a deck around, though, so might be something to look into. Next up, we have Sands of Time. For the cost and the speed, it's a pretty fantastic slowdown tool, I would say. And for a landmark deck, since it gives you the instant sentry, that's focused on, you know, getting your countdown effect faster. I think that it's pretty good support for a Thrall deck archetype, or maybe even, as we've seen before, Talia Malphite, or maybe on the off chance that you see Zillion. It's not a fantastic, you know, break the meta sort of card, but it's a good control tool. And in an archetype like Thrall's, control tools that are not just limited to healing and dealing damage, but also slowing down you know, attacks is really good too. Say what you will about that, I think it's a good tool. Sputtering Song Spinner. I have absolutely no fucking idea what the hell this card does. Like, I know that it gives you 3 cards that are 2 or less cost. It reduces the cost to 0 this round. I don't know what this card is trying to do. It's not bad, it's not broken, it's nothing like that. I just don't understand what this card has to do with Piltover and Zon. Am I making sense? Like, it feels out of place. I don't know. It could just be me. But we'll have to wait and see how it works. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. All that I know is that Ezreal's about to cream his fucking pants. Next up, we have Undergrowth, an alternative control tool for Shadow Isles deck. So basically a better grasp in terms of cost. It comes with the price of 3 tossed cards, though. But that being said, like, in these kinds of decks, those 3 cards might not have mattered in the late game anyways. But I don't know. It's a really strong control tool. I'll look forward to seeing how it performs. It's certainly not blatantly overpowered, because I think the cost in terms of tossing cards is important to look into, to keep in mind. You might undermine it and think, oh well, tossing cards doesn't matter because those cards wouldn't have mattered anyways. But if you think about including 3 of these cards in your deck, that's getting rid of 9 cards. That is 1/4 of your deck almost. So it, you know, it comes with a price. But that being said, it's still solid removal. It's not an auto include, I wouldn't say that, but it is something that you should consider including when you're making a control deck. It's a finisher or ramp aggro tool that can go well in scouts and plunder decks. I wouldn't say it's meta defining or anything, but it's not bad. And here we have a late game finisher for Leona decks or Nightfall decks in that regard, I guess. It's a finisher that grants or that gives other allies +2/+1 and overwhelm. It's not bad. I would say that it's a solid addition to either archetype. Alright, well, that having been said, we also got a champion reveal for Jhin. Let's go over what Jhin does and his effect, and then we'll get over to his support cards too. So Jhin introduces a brand new keyword to Runeterra called Origin. So basically the champion counts as a region for your deck, and additional effects can resolve as part of the Origin effect. So for example, with Jhin, you can add any specified card, in this case cards with skills, from any region to your deck while deck building. Pretty cool. Additionally, he gains an effect while in play, or in your hand rather, that for every few spells or skills, he deals damage to the enemy nexus and stuns the weakest enemy. Pretty solid, pretty cool. I look forward to seeing how you can combo this. This is a beautiful rendition of the champion that's made it into the card game, where almost all of his skills and abilities from League of Legends have translated to this game almost to perfection. Like, he has a skill on attacks as well, dealing 2 damage to stun enemies at level 1, and then at level 2 he deals 4 instead, and damage to the nexus. I think that the flavor for this card, the art, and the focus on 4 is very much in tune with the thematic of this champion. They really nailed the theme, they really nailed the effects. It's very not overly complex. It's complex to the point where you understand what you're asked of as a deck builder. You have skills, fast speed spells, slow speed spells, and then understanding how to combine them to create this deadly flourish, this artistic vision that is Jhin's whole thematic. His signature spell is pretty good too. It generates value for future turns. Gruesome Theater is I would say, ridiculous recall spell for 2 mana. There is no condition for recalling enemies or friendly units, so you could trade into a unit and then recall it, so you can heal your own units or get rid of a slightly bigger unit that your opponent has if you can't finish it off that round. Some might argue that it's better to just try and kill it, but sometimes you can't do that, so just removing it by recalling is the best option you have. But again, those are just fringe cases. We'll have to wait and see how well the card performs. And we also got a bunch of support for Jhin in his new archetype. So the first card that we have is the Captive Greyback. Notice that its effect is also a skill. The card itself is decent, I would say. The cost and the effect make up for the stat line. It is susceptible to removal, but it could trade favorably into jump blockers, which is the main attraction to this card. Discreet Invitation is another support card, I would say, for Jhin, in that both of these options are additional followers that have skill effects. So for burst speed, the options of having 2 mediocre cards is better than actually running those mediocre cards, I would say. And you get to reduce their cost, which is a big plus. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, Shady Character could be crazy and win you the game and all that shit, but I mean, more often than not, it's not a card you'd typically run. So Lord Broadmane has a on-play skill effect, so more Jhin support, with a very powerful effect at that. When you damage a stunned or damaged enemy, you just straight up kill it. Good with Swain synergy, by the way. I think that the high cost and the low stat line keeps it in check, but I think that it also adds a much welcome tool for swing control decks, or even Yasuo decks. Yeah, can't wait to use this card. Next we have the Stagehand, an ephemeral 2 mana 4/4. It has a skill effect that stuns. Pretty solid. The Maker is another Jhin support card with a skill attached to it. It got a decent effect for Ahri decks, Kennen, Yasuo again. And now we move on to the last introduction to a new champion. But first we look at the keyword, which I think is important to understand before we get into the champion. The wording is a little bit confusing, but here's what you gotta know. You summon a 1/1 tentacle if it says spawn. But if you already have a tentacle, then you instead give +1/+1 for every spawn plus the number. So essentially, you're growing 1 tentacle and not summoning a bunch. And we got a couple of support cards included with that as well. So we have the Watchful Idol, similar to the Monkey Idol, which summons a 2/1 monkey. In this case, you get a tentacle, a spawn 1 tentacle. It could grow a tentacle that has already been spawned. So don't think that it'll give you more tentacles. You only get 1, and that one gets buffed. Answered Prayer, again, additional growth synergy for spawning. So you can grow it by 2, or if you have 5 mana, you can grow it by 4. The Sea's Voice grants Overwhelm to the tentacle. although the wording implies you can summon multiple ones, so again, it's a little confusing, but I'm pretty sure you only get the one tentacle. Buru Leader, it's again, direct tentacle synergy. The tentacles cost 1 mana, and this one starts a free attack for a 1 mana follower. And Buru Lookout is just, again, more spawn synergy, spawn 3. So you buff a tentacle by 3, or you summon a 3/3 tentacle. That's it. But honestly, I feel like the mechanic is a little bit confusing, and we need a bit more clarity. They did try to clarify it in a Twitter post, but it's still a little bit confusing. And just as I say that, we actually get news on Illaoi. We got a reveal for her. I didn't expect this. It was just announced, and it cleared up a bunch of the confusion with the gameplay. I won't include it here, because we're trying to make this brief. You can find the reveal on the official Legends of Runeterra page. But anyways, the 1 tentacle grows for every spawn. That's confirmed, so you only get 1 tentacle. That's the big deal. And we got a bunch of support cards for it too, so let's take a look. So let's start off with Illaoi herself. Her attack effect synergizes directly with the tentacle mechanic, so we're already off to a better start than with Udyr. And it's a pretty strong effect too. And on level up, she buffs the spawn effect, so you get even more. You get +1 more of whatever number it says for spawning. And she gets a stat boost for her own stat line for the strongest tentacle, which you only have 1. Crazy synergy. For 4 mana, we have a new spell, Tentacle Smash, spawn 3. It's a strike spell, so the tentacle that you summon strikes an enemy. Or they strike each other, rather. Again, it's like a single combat for Bilgewater. Not bad. Not bad at all. Seeing that, as of now, spawn and tentacles are sort of self-reliant, so you might not need to combine another region. As of now, from what I'm seeing. Next up, we have Eye of the Nagake Borus, a 5 mana burst speed spell. Spawn 2, draw 2. Solid. Good tempo, I would say. You get a body on the board, and then you get 2 additional cards. I don't see anything wrong with this card. It's pretty good. And we also get Nagake Borus for 8 mana. We get the god itself. The god that Illaoi prays to. This is fucking awesome. Like, as a lore fanatic, Nagake Borus, seeing the actual god itself presented, fucking incredible, dude. We've seen the other Freljordian gods presented in the previous expansion, so let's see what this one does. And it's a crazy effect. It's a finisher for this archetype. You spawn 2 tentacles, and then it checks to see if the strongest tentacle you have has 12 or more power. If it does, you get a focus speed spell that starts a free attack with 4 additional copies of that tentacle. So you get 6 total followers that attack at minimum with 12 power plus Nagake Borus, which is 5. Fucking crazy. Absolutely insane. And I'm honestly more excited now to try out the archetype, seeing how it functions. But I still wonder what other regions and other mechanics can synergize with this, because as of now it seems to be very self-reliant, so you don't need to add a second region. It could be like a mono region as of now. I could be wrong. And finally, to close things off, we have Leak. For additional champions other than these 2 that were mentioned. If you don't want to get spoiled and you don't want to speculate, then you can skip this part. Just click ahead in the chapters. Okay, so in this screenshot, we can see 2 new champions that have yet to be revealed. But clearly we see that it's Annie and Bard from League of Legends as possible additions to this expansion. I honestly can't wait for the reveal, because yeah, I don't know, like, they are roamers, they are wanderers of Runeterra. Annie is a wild card for me because she's kind of out of place, so it's very interesting to see her be teased. And Bard is a no-brainer. Like, it's an entity that travels around Runeterra, saving it at every waking moment, kind of like Rise. And yeah, that's all the card updates that we have for today. I hope it wasn't too long or anything. I just wanted to amass a good amount of cards that were already revealed before going through them, so that way you don't get a bunch of videos every 2 seconds. but maybe it might be better to do that. I don't know. Just let me know in the comments, I guess. But yeah, with that being said, I am looking forward to this expansion and experimenting with Jhin's deck building mechanics. I'm a strong advocate for homebrewing and discovering decks on your own, and this will certainly be a good way to keep me busy. I hope it keeps everybody else busy too. Yeah, I mean, as with every expansion, right? Everybody tries to figure things out quickly, see what's most effective, but also try to see what's most fun, right? Like, you don't want to just find the best aggro deck ever and then play that, right? Maybe you do, who knows? But try to have fun with it. And that being said, thank you all so much for watching through to the end. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, all that noise. And with that, you're all dismissed. See you next time.